4 years, gone in the blink of an eye. I leave here a changed man. But I can't say college was quite what I expected. No professors, no other students. I never did find that Zoom building. Service. What the fuck?
Hello?
Baby, I just saw a fucking UFO. I don't even know where I am right now. I think I'm being followed. I'm fucking lost. I don't know where to go.
Bitch, you know where to go.
My boy!
I am so lost right now. I don't know where I'm going.
Most of us are, my boy.
I'm looking for a hotel.
What kind of a hotel?
It's my hotel.
Does your hotel have vacancy?
I don't know. I'm trying to get there.
Does your hotel have a continental breakfast, my boy?
I don't know. I've been running all night trying to get there.
Run no more, my boy. The hotel is within you.
Founder of Essex County Ghost Project, he hosts the Paranormal Zone on YouTube. Thomas Spitalere, welcome to Hotel D'Amico.
Well, welcome. I thank you guys for having me tonight. This will be a great show.
I'm glad you made the trip to get pleasantries and introductions out of the way. What definition would you give for what it is that you do?
Well, I don't think there is a real definition. I'm a paranormal investigator with a team, and we go in and we go in and help people with issues. We do fundraising for nonprofits. I have a ufology arm now, a UFO arm. I work with a couple cryptozoologists, so we pretty much cover everything.
How did you get into this line of work? Was it always a passion of yours? Did you have any experiences as a young kid?
There was a show back on long ago, back in the 80s. That's long ago for some people.
It's before my time.
Called Unsolved Mysteries with
yeah.
Robert Stack. The
Spooky show.
One.
The guy with the trench coat, right?
Yeah, I didn't. The Farini one was okay. But the Robert Stack one delved more into the paranormal, the UFO, the cryptozoology. Farini went into more of missing, which was still interesting because it's Unsolved Mysteries, missing people, and every once in a while they get the UFO thing.
Yeah, so you work out of Northern Mass, like the New Hampshire
Northern
border?
Mass, New Hampshire border. Essex County Ghost Project has done events, private home investigations from Kittery, well, actually a little further north than Kittery, Maine, all the way to Plymouth, New Hampshire.
So you're the guy out there. If people have any questions or they need help.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Plymouth, New Hampshire, Gloucester, over to Greenfield, Mass.
Right. That's kind of not out this way, but on the way.
On the way, yes. And the reason why I got out to Greenfield was, remember that COVID? We all want to forget COVID now.
I remember.
Might be coming back.
Might be coming back.
Season 2, I heard.
Let's hope
got
not.
picked
Okay.
up.
Let's hope not. Okay. I had a gentleman out in Greenfield, Mass, who just kept calling, and we just went out there because he had a lot of issues going on, paranormal and other stuff.
Would you say these people that make these calls, do they tend to have a lot of land?
Not all the time.
Not always?
We do a lot of triple deckers, which are a pain. Apartment buildings, which are a real pain.
So the guy in Greenfield, what was going on? Did the activity increase when he was kind of sheltering at home?
Like during COVID, there was more sites, people seeing things and feeling things because they're stuck at home. And the same issue there. It was land-based. It wasn't that far from the bridge there, Emily's Haunted Bridge. It's about a mile from that Emily's Haunted Bridge site. Native American and other stuff was triggering other things too. I mean,
do you show up to kind of diagnose what is going on, or do you offer a solution too sometimes?
Sometimes we can offer solutions, and sometimes we have to go back a second and third time to get a solution.
What could a solution be?
A lot of things. Sage, expulsion of the spirit, or if things are that bad, which we haven't had one yet, a suggestion. If you can't move the spirit along and it's that bad, you just got to get away from it.
Move.
I mean, what you see on TV is TV. Now, the other thing we run into a lot of is, well, you're at my house for 3 hours. I was. We ran 2 cameras. We took 150 pictures, and we got about 5 or 6 digital recorders going. Oh, you can't get that done like they do on TV? No. The average digital recorder, if you do 1 hour, it's 2 hours.
Right.
So 2 hours of going over evidence.
How much equipment does that consist of? Do you have to have like a lot of top of the line things, or more along the lines of like frequency readers? Or
Okay.
School me.
As far as top of the line things are concerned, you can have all the best equipment in the world, but if there's nothing between your eyes,
Right.
you throw all that equipment away. There is no such thing as ghost hunting equipment. All ghost hunting equipment was used for something else. Recorders, what were they used for? Record music.
Right.
Record this, record that, record talks.
Right.
Video cameras, what are they used for? Video and baseball games, cameras, events, weddings. You use them in the field. Cell sensors. What do they really use for? Electricians used them to see where the electromagnetic fields were in the house, so they could keep people from getting cancer and everything else. Same with RF meters and all these meters. They're all used for something else.
Regarding UFOs, do you get calls about that, like sightings, or?
Once in a gray blue moon, I will, and I usually send somebody else out there because if I get a chance, I'll go. But UFOs are different than the paranormal.
But
Right.
to go back to all the devices you were saying that they have the traditional uses within our society, that would almost suggest that the paranormal spirits or entities, they're going into the vibrational grid infrastructure of our society in a way. If when an electrician uses his device to measure a certain level of electrical frequency, it's going to be the same type of interaction if there is a spirit there. Correct? Like it's using the same foundation in
Correct.
a way.
Yeah, the foundation, yes. So that's most of the equipment we use. And the newer equipment, everybody loves new equipment.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, how
My favorite equipment to use is a small digital recorder or a tape recorder, depending on what's going on. And I'll tell you guys the difference in a minute because there is a difference. Sometimes we'll use a digital camera, but most of the time I'll use my 35 millimeter flash camera. And I'll explain that in a minute. Or the other thing is I have a 12 to 15 set DVR system.
Really?
Yes. Now let me explain. My team loves when I have to bring this out. 3,000 feet of cordage, 16 different cameras, VHS or the little DVD, little DVR ones, and TV screens for each setup, and a VCR underneath.
This is like the vintage
Now,
setup.
why the vintage setup that my team loves when I bring that out? When you have a digital camera, they're great. You want to take pictures at a rock concert, a baseball
Right.
game, you want to video with them, they're great, especially the new cameras. They're better than some of the video cameras, but they move at a faster shutter speed. So when you're taking pictures, you don't always grab everything because of the shutter speed.
Yeah.
Same with the mini recorders. You use the high definition new recorders. They work great to go do a rock concert. You want to interview somebody, get yourself a nice $3,000 one with the, like this. It works great. But in the world of the paranormal, the $10 Salvation Army secondhand store yard sale works better.
So you're
It moves at a slower pace.
So you're saying using an older camera that relies on film?
Film also, the shutter speed on film compared to a digital. The shutter speed on a digital is like this.
Would you say you're a gifted guy after kind of being seasoned for X amount of years doing this?
I'm not saying I'm gifted.
Well, gifted in a sense that your senses might be a little more heightened than the average person.
Yes, they are. But I'm a channeler. I'm not a psychic. I'm not a medium. Some people think I should do it because I do sense and sometimes feel things, but not like a psychic does. Psychics could usually go, "Oh, Tom, over there."
Do you feel anything in here when you walked in?
No, I didn't feel it. I'm pretty much shut down right now because of the drive down and stuff. But
So what can you channel? Can you get us HBO? Can you get us...
that's a good one. Channeling. Channeling is when I let a spirit in my body so it can communicate with you or other people.
How often does that happen?
As much as I want it to happen. I got decent control. I'm not saying 100%. No one's got.
Is there always like a spirit on deck knocking
No.
on the door and you just let him in, or?
It depends on where we go. Like when I do my fundraising at Hilldale, I'm also the board president of Hilldale Cemetery Association too. So it's easier to get in there. I do once every other week fundraising because I took over a 21-acre cemetery with no funds. It was all money just magically disappeared.
Yeah,
So I do it every other week. Those spirits I've come like friendly with. They know, so that's a little different.
Is there any negative spirits you've had to not translate but channel?
Oh no, I've channeled those too.
Yeah, and what came about?
This is a family-friendly podcast.
Yeah. Let's keep it family friendly.
That's fine.
Do you feel like the negative energy within you when you're taking them on?
Yeah,
You're like,
usually.
whoa, this feels heavy.
And most of the time I have control. 99.99% of the time, if I take it out of somebody, I have control over it.
But sometimes you
But
can be
it's
like
just
speaking in tongues.
Right. But it's just like sometimes when you walk across the street, you walk across the same street 80 times. It's a busy road.
Yeah.
And one day you're going to it's 8 o'clock in the morning. There's no traffic. You walk across the road and some idiot's going 110 down the road and you get clipped.
Yeah.
And you cross it during busy times when you got to like meander through the traffic just to get through it. You're fine.
You think paranormal, UFO, let's even say Bigfoot, or even witchcraft, do they kind of walk in the same line? Do you see what I'm saying?
UFO, Bigfoot, and paranormal. There is some ideas out there that they're kind of together, but the Wiccan pagan stuff is not my full cup of tea.
Yeah.
I would say that's a total separate.
Well, have you ever spent time in Salem, Massachusetts?
Oh yeah.
So there must be stories, right?
Oh, there's plenty of stories down there, but some of them are just stories.
Yeah.
Salem is more than witches.
Yeah.
Most of Salem's paranormal history actually started because of the shipping. It was a shipping community.
And
And
death came
the
with
ghosts or spirits jump on.
When you have an old shipping village, okay, you have seamen. They're not really nice guys. I mean, they're nice, but they're a little rough around the edges. So then you have red light districts, you have bar districts, you have all of the
things that come along. Yeah.
things that come along with it. The witches of Salem, and I'm happy you brought this up. We're in the area of this. They weren't in Salem.
The witches weren't in Salem?
No.
Were they close by?
Most of the convicted witches came from Salem Village and Andover. Salem Village is now Middleton. If you're familiar with Middleton,
Yeah.
you know where the two malls are? Sylvan Street Restaurant.
I'm not that familiar. I know the area.
114, there's two malls. Take a left at the Sylvan Street, follow that. You'll come right to the old Salem Village and the old parsonage. There's not much left. It's just an open space. That's where most, and the Andovers. There was no such thing as North Andover, Andover.
Is that common knowledge over in that area?
Yeah. But years ago, the former sheriff of Essex County, and I just dropped his name. I have all his books. Decided to start Halloween activities in October, and it went from 1,500 the first year to, I think last year they said 2.1 million people showed up to Salem.
Have you yourself ever seen any sightings in the sky?
Sightings in the sky. I have seen a few coming down from Jackson, New Hampshire, many moons ago. Many moons ago.
Did you see actual...
you know where Route 16 comes down, where 301 and 16 split? I'm very familiar with that
I
area.
don't. Yeah, he's northern. I don't know that area.
What was the Museum of Natural History was down that road, and then Storyland.
I know Storyland, like
Okay,
the North
Storyland.
Conway.
Yeah, so you're coming down from Storyland back to Mass. There's a 301 goes this way, 16. So you go this way. Then if you took
Is that the Kangamangas Highway?
no, north of the Kink.
Oh, okay.
North of the Kink. You come down from Berlin into that by there. If you took a left, you're on 301. Take a right, you're on 16.
Okay.
I was coming home one night, and saw 2 flying objects right across the sky. That was the first time.
Split second?
Yeah, gone. Second time, I had 3 people in the car. I know what I saw. Some say it was a, what are those things called? They fly all over the place. A drone. I had my father's old car. My father literally just passed away probably a month or so before this incident. We're up on Route 1A heading to Portsmouth. I like to take the back roads when I go to Portsmouth. I don't really like the highway. So we're right along the ocean, driving where the $1 million homes are in Rye, if you're familiar with the area.
Yep.
There's the salt marsh. This thing literally flew right over the car. You couldn't even... If I had a... What are those windows called that you open up?
Sunroof?
Sunroof, and stood up in the car, I could touch the bottom of it.
That low, huh?
That low.
And gone.
It went over the woods, just over the tree limb, and then went down. Now, if that thing went down and it was a spacecraft and it crashed, or even a drone and it crashed, it's going to leave a little mark. You're going to see it. Nothing was seen. So I made some phone calls to some friends in the area. I can't say where they work or anything. But the standard operation procedure out of Pease Air Force Base that night was it was a drone.
That's what they want you to think?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that, right?
We'll go with that.
So do you think
2 years ago, I was at a wedding in the Sandown Triangle. Did I name the Sandown Triangle? Because I've done a lot of cases out there. Zavino Vineyards. Zavino. So
is this New Hampshire?
This is New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So where your camera is located, say that's the wedding party. So there's a gazebo there. There's 3 rows of chairs. Then there's an opening where people can walk through, and another 3 rows of chairs. They said no camera, so my phone's away. I'm leaning back in the chair as the wedding party walks by me. They go over to the gazebo. They're saying their vows. They're getting ready to kiss, and you could see the woods and the skyline from where I'm sitting. 2 hot dog-shaped UFOs just flew by. And she didn't believe in that stuff at all. So I told her at her wedding, I said,
really? Hot dog
Hot
shaped?
dog shape, yeah.
Interesting.
no buns?
No.
I figured it'd at least be a hamburger.
Right.
Shaped
No, hot
one.
dog shape.
So do you think these UFOs, you're meant to be seeing them, since the average person, most people never have these experiences, and you're having them multiple times?
Maybe other people aren't able to, and you are.
No,
You ever thought
I
of
think
that?
some people are just don't want to see it. They tune it out. And it's their choice. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. And some people just don't want to believe there's something. Oh, that's probably an air balloon or a weather balloon. Okay, keep driving.
Right. It's a big world, and there's just us in it, huh?
Right.
It's a weird way to think.
It's that mentality. We live in a huge universe that we don't even know what's 10,000, 5,000 miles away from Earth.
Right.
And we're the only one here.
There has to be, what, thousands of species of alien, right?
Yeah,
It can't just...
most likely.
It's not like the movies where they come down and they all look the same.
Right, exactly. You don't know what we
I mean, a lot of them, they say, don't look that different from us.
If you go back to some of my old shows, I know you said the Paranormal Zone, and I do appreciate that, but I also run the Essex County Ghost Project TV show at Able Community Television. You can check that on their website. And I've been doing that since 2008. Once a month.
So you're a veteran in this.
Yeah. I'm having fun tonight. This is fun for me. At least I'm answering questions and not asking them.
Yeah, huh?
And then I have the Paranormal News Hour at Lawrence Community Access TV. And why I said that was I interviewed 2 women. They're friends of mine, Audrey and Debbie Hewins. If you go to Monsters and Mysteries of America, the old TV show, look up the Bridgewater Triangle. They're in that show.
Okay, I'm familiar, but clearly not like you are.
Right. Some of those people that are in that show are actually friends of mine. But I interviewed the Hewen sisters. Audrey swears by one day she got sick, went to the doctors. I'm going to PG this thing because it's a family thing. The best I can.
You talking to that mic a little bit?
Okay. She went to the doctors because she was sick. Doctor goes, "You're pregnant." She goes, "No, it's impossible." She used other words too. And why is that? I'm not going to say what she said, but because I had to bleep it out of my show, so we'll save you the headache.
Well,
no,
what
you're
did
pregnant.
she say?
She said she hadn't been with anybody in a year and a half, so how's she pregnant? Makes no sense.
Right.
So she's pregnant. And then about a couple months later on, she woke up with a pool of blood. Went back to the doctors. No sign of the pregnancy at all. She swears up and down she sees her kid here on the planet, but more as an alien. So there's a theory out there among some ufologists that there are already aliens on the planet.
Do you think
That-
they're here and we can't see them?
They're a human verse,
Like a hybrid?
a hybrid. Yeah, I guess that's the best way of putting it.
Well, they say the Pleiadians look very similar to us, and they're actually like some of the most like beautiful humans that we have. You know, the Scandinavian, Nordic, tall, blonde men and women are closely related to Pleiadians. That's one thing I've heard. I was wondering, have you ever had a past life regression or have connections to past lives? And are you aware that this is what you're doing in this life is connected in any way to have bring these gifts that you have into this life and these connections?
So, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, we were doing a drumming circle. Went to a drumming circle.
Like an actual
An actual
drum line?
drumming circle.
Oh, okay.
It was Blue Man Group, but
No. They put the group together and you play the drums, and it's a metaphysical thing. Okay, I don't know what it's supposed to, but I knew the person running it, and we went. And this young girl, and they go, "Oh, it's time to do protection." I said, "I'm all set." And this young little child says, "Oh, he must do the paranormal for fun. He doesn't believe in this stuff." Something along that line.
You said,
he make a shot at me.
You said, "Give me those drumsticks."
Right. No. So I let her go because it was raining out and she's walking around in the grass barefooted. So that just tells you the mentality of people. And I had this. So this other guy goes, "I'll take care of Tom. You take care of everybody else." To the other person, I went around and he's like, "Yeah, Tom, this is okay. You want to do it? That's fine. I'm not leaving any names or anybody." But I said, "That's fine. Do it." He goes, "By the way, you have past lives." I said, "Yeah, I kind of figured that." She goes, "You got one with you all the time." I said, "Yeah, I know that."
Should go into detail?
No, not much of it, but I'm going to go get a past life regression. Because there are some movies I watch, and I won't say what they are, historical stuff mostly, because I'm a historian. Okay? That I swear I've been there before.
Deja vu in a
Yeah.
sense.
Not in this lifetime.
Right.
But in the time the movie's being shown.
Were you in the war, you think?
I don't think the war. One of my trigger movies is JFK,
Okay.
so that's one of them. The other ones go further back. In
So do you
time.
get a feeling that you're from, where was it, Dallas?
So that must have been your last life then, if that was what,
Possibly.
1960s?
Yeah, and I was born in '76, so
Interesting. How do you feel about, I don't want to keep triggering you, but how do you feel about that JFK movie? Does it make you uncomfortable,
no,
scared?
it's fine. It's like I was there and I knew what was going to happen. It would, when I saw, it doesn't trigger any like a reaction that's going to drive me. No, nothing like that.
But it gives you a feeling that I've been here.
Yeah, that's all it does.
Interesting.
And there are times I'll drive to places going, "Yeah, I've been here. I don't know when though. I don't ever remember coming here."
Do you think JFK's assassination had anything to do with him potentially disclosing extraterrestrial contact or anything like that? I've heard some theories that suggest that.
No, I think it was moreover
Federal Reserve.
LBJ's famous words: "Get me elected, and I'll give you blank a war." He didn't want the war in Vietnam. Was $1 billion.
He didn't like the 3-letter agencies either, they said, I feel like. So
Well,
he pissed off the wrong people.
War was $1 billion a day industry back then.
Yeah.
Imagine what it is today. Back then it was $1 billion a day. Imagine what it is today.
Do you ever, I don't want to say the news, but I feel like I've seen around the world there'll be a natural disaster, a bomb or something like that. Something will happen on this earth, and then you start having sightings in that area afterwards. Is that a coincidence? Do you agree?
I've heard of that, and I've seen that on different sites and stuff. It could happen. I mean, I'll wake up, and it's happened more than once. Sometimes when I'm alone, sometimes when I'm not alone. I'll wake up thinking I was abducted. And then, what the hell happened? So then you go to the UFO sites, and there's plenty of them. MUFON, and there's a couple other ones. Jason Morse's site. He's from Raymond. He's got a great database, publicly database. And you go look, oh, there was a UFO sighting last night in California. Oh, there was one in Maine. So what's it affect me? I'm thinking what affects me is the same thing that happens in the paranormal. So if you go in a house so everything around us has a field. Okay, there's an electric magnetic field around this earth that keeps us Earth from going into the sun and everywhere else. A UFO to get through that would have to go to the speed of sound to break that, obviously. We have to do that with our rocket ships to get them up there, our space stations and stuff. So I'm wondering if every time that field breaks, because I'm sensitive to high electric magnetic stuff like that, I'm wondering if that's why you get those dreams sometimes.
No recollection, just a kind of a faint memory that
that I'd be, I'll punch a wall because it's getting a little scary out. That'll wake me up and I'll go, ooh. And I didn't know if I punched the wall, but when you shake your head going.
Yeah, but if there's a database with people all listing similar experiences.
Right. There's a database of not that. We'll just throw it out there. 3 a.m. this past morning, a UFO was sighted. It wasn't, but that's what the database would say.
Why do you think for years, like let's say from the 50s to now, that the government or whoever would just dismiss these theories, and now they're starting to kind of say, yeah, they're here?
Because they don't want to scare people.
You really think that's all it is, though? Just scaring people, or trying to withhold things from them?
No, I think if everybody knew the truth back at Roswell, there'd be a lot more scared people and a lot of stupid things being done.
Yeah.
The government should have came clear, but what most people don't know is we have a space defense system now. Why do we have a space defense system?
How good do you think it is?
I don't know, because they've been working on this.
And this technology we can't even fathom.
Right.
Have you heard the theory about the Greys that have had contact with, I think it was Eisenhower, who like struck a shit deal with him to trade their technology in exchange to go into our dream state and extract DNA? You've heard that?
I've heard that theory too.
Have you had any interactions with extraterrestrials in your dreams or things that seemed like that?
No. And I know some people have had interactions with Greys, and those are usually the ones that perform the scientific or doctor stuff.
Right.
That you hear about in the news, or actually on like an unsolved mystery or ancient aliens or one of those types.
But they definitely operate in dream state, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I had a Grey try to give me a COVID test in one of my dreams. It was like, it's not for me. I've heard that the Greys, we have somewhat of an agreement with them to allow them to take our DNA, because the Greys are basically they have bodies, but they don't really have much consciousness left in them. They're almost more like computer-like. So they've lost their ability to perpetuate their species. Mm-hmm. So humans have agreed on some level to allow them to perpetuate their DNA lineage through extracting some of our genetics. I don't know how true that is.
I don't know much about that deep into it. I've never got that far into the ufology stuff. I have a ufologist that, who knows a little bit more about that. And I have friends, if I needed questions, I could give them calls.
You think during abductions they perform, not surgery, but inspect our bodies?
I've heard that from many people. So that I could agree to, because I've heard it from other people.
You think there's stories out there of people missing organs and there's no scar to prove it?
Yeah. I mean, I know somebody who had the baby pulled from them with no scar to prove it. So if they can pull a baby, what's it say they can't pull a lung?
They think an extraterrestrial pulled the baby?
That's what she thinks. Yeah. I told you the story already.
Right.
And you can check that out on HC Media. Or, like I said, Monsters and Mysteries America, the Bridgewater Triangle episode.
Well, that brings us to that. How much time have you spent in Bridgewater?
Off and on, I've spent a few days here and there down there. We usually go once a year. We haven't gone in a couple of years, but we've done the Hockomock Swamp. We've done Freetown State Park. I've done a lot of research down there.
Freetown has that history of like Satanism and cultism down there, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, anytime you get an open space.
Yeah, I guess.
Let's face it. You have an open space of woods, it's 25,000 acres of land. You're going to have a lot of family activities going on down there, and you're going to have a lot of non-family activities going on.
I know. You think they don't exist, but there's groups out there. You think there's still occult activity going on? Let's say in Andover or your neck of the woods?
We haven't had any reported activities that I've seen, so I imagine it's still going on, but today it's a little bit easier to hide.
Interesting. You say a lot of these negative spirits, would you say they all come from disaster or tragedy, like murder, accidents, anything like that? Or do they just latch onto a property or a house? Okay. Do they have a reason for being there?
So let's let's go back, step away from that real quick and
Sure.
get back into that. If you're happy in life, you'll be happy in death. If you were okay in life, you'll be okay in death. If you were a miserable donkey in life, you'll be a miserable donkey in death. Demons were never humans. Okay, those were just conjured up or brought in. They're here. You can't have good without the bad, the yin and the yang theory. So you can have a new development. We've gotten calls for years. We started this in 2007. Before this, I was with another team. And before that, I was on my own. So I've done this for a long time. You get a call. I don't know why my house is haunted. That's how they start the call.
Yeah, good morning.
No good morning, no
Yeah.
nothing. I said, why are you surprised your house is haunted? Well, we just built this house. It was a brand new house. Okay. What was there before that? Did you live in town? No. Do you know anybody who lived in? No. So I'll do some research. Oh, then they'll tell me that what's going on in the house. So we get to that. So we get to the house, right? We look around. Oh. Well, one particular house had a graveyard in front of it. Another particular house we did just was a brand new area, but you could tell there was something there before that just by looking at the big old first period colonial homes in 1850s, style homes in the area going, something must have been there years ago. So then you make some calls to the local store and find out, oh, there was a house there. Oh, there was a first period colonial there at one time. Oh, this is where a massacre took place during the French Indian War, especially where we are down here in Massachusetts.
Who do you call for that? A historical society?
Historical society. Just ask them, hey, because I work for one too. I do a lot of work with these societies, so it's a little bit more easier for me.
One phone call away for you.
Right.
So you've spent a lot of time in the woods, cemeteries.
Cemeteries especially, yeah.
So you must like them on some level, right?
Yeah. I do talks on historic graveyards too, not just paranormal.
How many cemeteries do you think you've been to?
Couldn't count them.
Yeah.
Too many of them.
Is it relaxing being
To
there?
me, it's relaxing. To most people, it's creepy. And I have a cemetery that I'm board president of, and I have to go down there at night and patrol it. And to most people, that's creepy. To me, sometimes I even fall asleep in there.
Do you ever see things, or you just feel things for the most part?
No, when I first took over Hilldale Cemetery, I pull into this one location all the time, and there was a knock on the window. I thought it was my cousin, who was then now a retired Haverhill police officer. I go, what the hell are you doing down here, Tom? No, it was a spirit.
A knock.
A knock on my window. So I'm asleep in the car, head up against the window. Knock, knock.
I worked in a house one time. I was in construction years ago, and me and the other guys on the job could swear we heard piano playing, like from upstairs or wherever it was. So it's like we're going through the house. There's no piano in there. Have you ever heard anything like that? Music?
Mm-hmm. Music, piano.
Singing?
Smells, singing. Yeah, anything like that can happen.
What about like, let's say The Conjuring? What is that, Connecticut?
No. We don't want to talk about The Conjuring right now.
Okay.
But I will say a little bit of background, but I'm not going to talk about the house.
Okay.
The original Conjuring, if you want to know more about it, you go to go to HC Media or LCAT and tune into Carl Johnson, the demonologist, and his brother Keith. I haven't had Keith on, but Carl's always on. He's a friend of mine. He and his brother were the first to do the Conjuring house before the Warrens got there. He was the one that brought the Warrens in, Keith and Carl Johnson.
Did they live there? Or
No, they were asked to investigate by the Perron family.
Gotcha.
So they went in, investigated it. They realized they were 18-year-old twin brothers just getting into the paranormal. And I forgot the name of the college, but it was down in Wakefield. I believe it was Quinnipiac College, but don't quote me on that one. The Perrons were speaking there. And they went to the talk, and they were able to get, not the Perrons, the Warrens were speaking at the college. And able to get the Warrens to investigate the house.
Is this an uncomfortable topic, or you just don't want to go
I
into
just
it
don't want to get into it.
for your own reasons?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
completely fine. But what I meant to say, not even pinpointing that one house, but people being thrown off a bed or things moving, stuff like that. Have you ever been around things that are that aggressive?
I was shoved once. Sandown Meeting House.
Okay.
1770s meeting house. We knew the place was haunted. We weren't getting much that night, and it was a public event. So we had other teams there, and it was a public event. So it's called the Crow's Nest. You know, when you look at those old meeting houses where the minister would sit up in this round thing, called the Crow's Nest. Behind this Crow's Nest was a window. We get nothing. I talked about freeing slaves. I talked about the war. Did this, did that. Got nothing going on. Except for the slave pews. There was some light anomaly.
Right, because you figure with history, the Underground Railroad took place in these
over
spots.
there too, yeah. So I started preaching the Catherine doctrine. Felt two hands pushed, and I went right up against the window with a 50-foot drop, 40 to 50-foot drop if I had gone through that window.
Have you been everywhere in New England, like historically, at least?
No. There's too many places.
Have you been to the Garrison House in Newburyport?
Nope. Never been.
Have you been to the Sandersons' house in Salem? Sanderson sisters? No, is that Hocus Pocus?
Yeah, no. Salem is real hard to get into because most of it's federally owned.
Yeah.
And they do not want paranormal investigators in those old homes. I am right now in the process of investigating the guy that does the haunted and historic trolley tours. I could talk about this because it's a business.
Yeah, that's it.
His business is haunted.
His business is haunted?
Yeah, which is in downtown Salem.
Oh, okay. Like his business shop? Or
his shop, where the trolley tours run out, is a little gift shop. And
it's probably good for business, I feel like.
Yeah, it would be good. That would be good for business, yeah. Most places are afraid of that type of business, but if you're in downtown Salem, they want to talk about it. Some restaurants like talking about it. I did Eggy's. It's now closed.
Eggy's?
Eggy's. There's a breakfast place in Atkinson on the Havel line.
Oh, okay.
We did a couple dining with the dead. I call them dining with the crossovers, dining with the dead. They're all the same thing.
Interesting. Well, what do you have coming up as far as
what do I got coming up?
Traveling or interactions?
Hold on. When you say the business is haunted, the building, or it's like, is everything that business owner haunted?
Itself, just the building itself.
The building.
If you went and bought trinkets, you'd be fine.
Okay.
You're not bringing anything home.
So like the trolley would like lose control.
The trolley's not going to lose any, and it's not even trolleys. He runs walking tours.
Oh, okay.
So, and he does do a couple trolley tours, but the trolley tour thing is, that's the lady upstairs that they got a business deal where he does all the talking, his crew does the talking, and she owns the trolley.
What's a place that you haven't gotten to yet, but is at the top of your list? Or at this point,
formally investigate, probably Gettysburg.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Our struggle to be free took place over there.
What stories have you heard from there from other investigators? Million, yeah.
Too many to even talk about. Some I don't even remember because I just see them online. I see the same stories online told a little differently because I'm on all these sites, so I see everything that goes on.
Do you have any thoughts about after we die and the reincarnation cycle and what that is, if that's something that exists? Is that something that is pure? Is it hijacked in any type of way?
Well, I do believe it. I was raised a Catholic, okay? And so my father was one of those, I'd go to church every Sunday, give the money to the church. He cut the priest hair and life moved on. My mother never went to church. My grandfather, who I was close to on my mother's side, was a Jehovah's Witness. So I had a great eclectic way.
So was there always somebody at the door?
Yeah. I had a great eclectic way of learning religion, and I'm a political activist, so I met a lot of different people in the political field in their religion. So I met a lot of people. So,
is your phone always ringing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't stop unless I shut it off.
Right.
But to answer your question about reincarnation, I don't know much about it. But I do believe in it because I think I've been in at least once, maybe twice. I got to do a past life regression thing.
So you've felt demons, right? So have you felt God?
I feel the light. I felt negative energy. I felt positive. I felt sad. I felt every type of it,
Have you ever brought prayer into an investigation?
Sometimes you have to. Let me explain that. If I go to a house and I go in, okay, and there's a negative entity, it doesn't have to be a demon, just a negative entity, okay, and those people are Catholic, prayer will work. You go to a different house with the same type of entity. If they're not Catholic, throwing holy water around the house is just like wasting, like running your water in the sink.
Shows you the power of belief.
It's the power of belief that matters.
And intention.
And intention. So I also have the sage. I have different things I can mix with the sage that will burn, that will help. I do use holy water when it's all on the situation. And because if you're an atheist, holy water is going to do nothing. It's like running the sink water. Turn it on, and the only thing you can have at the end of the month is a high water bill with no resolution.
Or if you don't believe in ghosts, that noise upstairs is just a noise.
Right.
So It is the power of belief.
Yes. Or it's, until you start, that's...
until you do it.
I had this happen quite a bit, and I know other teams it's happened to. So they're like, okay, so when did this start? Well, I don't know when it started. Well, think about it. Oh, 2 years ago, we first started hearing footsteps. So we thought, I didn't believe in ghosts, so I didn't think it was nothing. Then the footsteps turned into pounding. I'm thinking, why wait? Okay, so that was 2 years ago. So you dealt with this for 2 more years, and you went from, what ends up happening is you have a spirit that's in the house that's trying to take over the whole house. It starts off as being your friend, and it goes into the more demonic stuff, or the more uglier stuff, or the parasitic stuff, whoever you speak to. But why would you wait 2 years for it to grow that far? If you start having issues in a house, call in a paranormal investigator before it gets bad. Because if it gets bad, there's no guarantee we go in there, it's good, we can even move it out.
Have you ever...
It's bad, it gets even harder.
Sorry to cut you off. Have you ever brushed arms with exorcisms, or somebody that's been around them, or somebody that's...
Oh, yeah.
So they're kind of cousins of paranormal in a sense, right? These experiences people go through?
Correct.
How do you feel about... Have you been around one?
Well, those are the darkest energies you have to expel from
Right.
a person.
I've been around a couple dark ones.
You've been in the room?
In the room, yeah. We had a case a couple of years back where it was a friend of mine. He's since moved out of the house. He had 2 kids, and his wife's niece was living with them. And we went to the house, near a cemetery. Every night, the wife's niece had some issues anyhow to begin with, so it wasn't all paranormal. She was playing these dumb Tik Tok games. Okay? You can conjure up negative entities with, so stay away from Tik Tok.
Like a Ouija board kind of?
No, worse than these are Tik Tok games that are even worse than a Ouija board. You make Ouija boards look childish. The girl ended up, the uncle got up to use the restroom at night. He comes back in. He called me that morning. He said, you should have called me at 3 a.m. I would have been there. The girl had a knife over the bed over her aunt. Now, if the uncle didn't get up to go to use the restroom, so I went in the next day, the girl ended up needing help, more help than we could give. But I was able to get rid of the dark entity once she told me what she did. I had to call in some extra help to do it.
She needed help of removing the entity?
Right. But when you're that low, that's when the dark entities... A demon does just not possess you. You buy this house today, you walk in it, and there was a demon, it's not going to possess you by tomorrow morning.
Right.
We're protected because of what we are. But if you have problems in life and you don't handle the problems well, and then these demons will start tricking you like they're friends.
Right, because they actually will give you like a dopamine hit in exchange for taking on their energy, so it feels like something that feels good or feels like your idea.
And then once they got control of you, your life becomes a living hell again.
How do you deal with being around negative?
Do you have like a spiritual hygiene practice at the end of each day?
No.
A cleanse?
No. Some of my team members wish I did cleanse at the end of the day, but...
How do you cleanse?
I don't, because I know my grandfather's there protecting me, and I know there's another entity. So I've always been, if you want to call it luck, unlucky. I've always been pretty lucky with as far as dealing with this stuff because I have a good grounding. So as long as you're grounded, those demons can't hurt
Where
you.
you don't take your work home with you. How ironic if you went home at the end of the night and there's an entity in your house. You're like, oh my God.
I don't think that's ever happened.
I don't think it will either. Like we were saying, the power of belief.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it's that bad, then I will say. If it was a rough case, I may sage myself outside the house now.
To go back to exorcisms, though, I feel like growing up, I'd see in movies that they would speak in tongues. Is that a biblical thing, or is it?
I've never seen that because I've never done that far along. It's usually, months. But those cases would be 2-3 months down the road from what I've dealt with worse.
So you're the early stages.
Yeah, I'm the early stages. So I haven't seen them as far as speaking in tongue. Now, I have seen people channel. I have channeled and supposedly have spoken in odd languages.
Like light language?
Latin?
Different. I don't know because I don't remember it. I have to rely on people around me.
Was it like an earth language or something that everyone's like...
Earth language, sometimes a foreign language.
But a dialect that nobody knows.
Right, yeah.
Interesting. You have no recollection?
So when you're channeling, you do not know really what's going to come through and you don't even...
Correct.
Have you
Sometimes if I know the spirit's there, like a Hilldale or an event that I'm doing at a private, a non-profit event, and I've been there enough times and I know who the spirit is, then at least because I've channeled him once or twice or her once, so I know who it is. Now it's a familiar energy to me, so it's not as bad, so that I can kind of explain based on what people have told me what had happened in the past.
Is your memory wiped after something like that?
No, it's just wiped. I remember the thing going inside of me, but after that, I don't remember anything until it leaves. But if I went out to dinner before that, I remember what I ate. So if you want to talk about wiping a memory, it wipes it for that space.
Couple minutes?
Couple minutes, depending on how long I'm in. I try to only stay in a couple minutes.
Channel good things, I'm sure, sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, all the time.
You channel good things, bad. You channel whatever's there.
So do you know when you're about to go into that trance? Is there like bodily
Usually
changes?
I could start feeling the energy getting close.
Almost like when you're,
There's
coming up on a
spasms?
plant medicine experience?
No, nothing like. No, you just know if you can sense that the spirit's right here and it's moving towards you, you know it's coming.
Interesting.
It's not like anything like that.
Very interesting. So you must be exhausted by the end of the day sometimes, no?
Uh-huh.
Dealing with people, dealing with energy, people speaking in tongues. You're speaking God knows what dialect.
Yeah, my day starts early and ends it all different. And then even if I get home to go to sleep, I might go, oh, I'm tired. I'm driving home tired. I get home. It's like someone just put the light switch on. Click. I'm wide awake again.
So you've done overnights, houses.
Not quite. No, we're usually done by midnight. I did send a team a few years back to do an overnighter. We don't get too many of those.
There's a place like a half a mile from here called Blood Forest. There's a guy named Arthur Blood. I did some research on it years ago. I think owned the property and murder happened, this and that. And since then, or let's say 70s and 80s, people have gone missing up there. I went there in high school, but I got scared and turned around.
Where's that? One of the greenways up here that I've driven by?
It's tucked in. I forget what route it's on, but it's got it almost looks like a cemetery. I don't know what's up there now, but it's known as Blood Forest.
Oh, I have to look that one up.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's some prospects out here.
Yeah, I mean there's prospects all over Massachusetts.
Yeah.
What about Spider's Gates? Been there, Lester?
Spider's Gates. I know people who've been there. I haven't. I've been to a lot of places, but there's a lot of places that you read in the books. I try to stay away from the ones already in the books.
Yeah, you want to break new ground.
I don't mind going if it's something. I'm bored. Oh, we're right up the street from there. Let's go. And I get equipment with me. We'll go.
Do you have any mentors for this profession when you were younger, or did you just jump right in?
I first jumped in. I read books. And then I joined New England Ghost Projects and Ron Kolek, and he taught me a lot. And then later on, I met a lot of people while I was out on my own who taught me a lot. One of them just passed away this year, Paul Eno.
That's the last name?
Eno, E-N-O, yeah. Paul Eno.
Oh, Paul Eno.
So, he had a show in Rhode Island for, was it over 1,000? Yeah, either 1,000 or 2,000 episodes every Sunday on radio in Warwick, Rhode Island. And he did a lot of research on flap areas, which he calls triangles, and ley lines and all that stuff. He investigated places in Pennsylvania, Texas. 54 years in the paranormal. He also worked with the Warrens. So I gained a lot of knowledge from talking from him every day, but he's one of the ones I miss.
Have you heard of anything about what's known as sacred geometry ley lines and sacred geometry
Ley
grids?
lines I know a little bit about. Sacred geometry grids, a guy that helps out with my team every once in a while. He's pretty good. He knows more about that stuff than me. But the ley lines run like, take America's Stonehenge. There's ley lines that connect America's Stonehenge to England Stonehenge to downtown Tripoli. That's why there's a belief that the Phoenicians were here first.
Interesting. Do you believe that?
I believe I know there were Vikings here before Columbus.
What about the Anunnaki? Familiar with them?
That I'm not familiar.
Anunnaki is way before that, and that was out of like northern Africa area. The theory is Anunnaki is what's the species that created Homo sapien. They came to the planet, and there was Homo erectus, a caveman existing, and they infused Homo erectus with like Anunnaki genetics, and they created Homo sapien. But then they also like shut off a lot of our senses and reduced us to back down to the 5 senses, so we wouldn't be as, I don't know, as powerful, or it gets into conspiracy.
Do you feel you have more than 5 senses?
Well,
definitely got a 6th sense.
I do have the 6th sense. The third eye.
And you have the 6th sense on VHS.
Yeah. I think
he does, doesn't he?
I don't want to keep you any longer. I know you've got a long day.
That's fine. I'm fine. Yep. Cruising along here.
Yeah.
How do you want to keep this going? We keep it going. I'm having fun.
Yeah? Well, where are you going next then? You're on tour. You're always on tour.
Yeah, I know. Let's see. This week coming up, what do I got going on? Thursday night will be my Paranormal Zone at 5:45, but we'll drop that around 7, 8 o'clock, probably a little later that night on YouTube at Lawrence Community Access TV. I'm going on another, and I don't know if this is live or not. I don't know much about it. The guy's in England. So I'm going on a podcast Thursday night at 7 o'clock our time, and that's like midnight England time. That should be fun. I'm looking forward to that. Then next Saturday night we'll be at one of the more haunted cemeteries in New England, Hilldale Cemetery, for a fundraiser. So that's this week. September Trails and Sales every weekend from September 14th on.
So you're booked.
I'm booked, yeah. And then October, I got library talks. I also do talks for the Merrimack Valley Chamber of Commerce when they have their business mixer. I do one at Small Act Farms in October.
Do police have you as a contact if they show up on the scene?
Yeah.
Like a consultant?
Yeah, a lot of the cops in the Merrimack Valley area where I come from, or even some of the ones that in the Bridgewater Triangle, I got ties that they'll call me and say, "Hey, Tom, last night somebody reported this to us." Yeah. Thank you.
Do you think we'll have open extraterrestrial contact in our lifetime?
We might. That I don't know.
Well, define contact, right?
Yeah. I mean, because we've already had contact. Just ask Travis Walton, who I've met.
Yeah.
He's had contact that ruined his life.
He's not well after the contact?
Well,
or
you go through, imagine the PTSD you go through.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody I know that has had a contact story or an abduction story, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely shaken up. And to go from allegedly being where this extraterrestrial takes you, or being in that world and coming back down to this, it's going to be tough to reconcile.
And here's a little interesting note. So I run a paranormal investigation unit. We investigate ghosts, Bigfoot. Sometimes I'll do the UFO thing. Okay. You think, and with all the UFO stuff on TV, you think there's a lot of UFO investigators out there? There's not. Most of the UFO groups you're seeing now are UFO support groups, like an AA for alcoholics. I know of at least 2 big ones in the area and a third one starting. They will do some research on it, but just think of this. I know I got cut off earlier. I don't know if I said it or not, but I'll say it now. When you have a ghost in your house, most likely, if you call me tonight and say, hey, there's a ghost in my house, I'll be there either tomorrow night or the next day. I'll get you in there to just at least get to start the investigation. You're never one and done on any investigation. That's TV. That's not real life. But if you have a UFO fly over your house and it flies over at, what time is it? Around 8 o'clock, we'll say. Okay. You call me up at 8:05. Even if I lived at 20 minutes away, that UFO is already in Africa or England. So unless it left, it came down close to the ground and left electromagnetic fields or something like that, then you can do it.
But does it even need to travel like how we view from Massachusetts to Africa, or can it just go in? It's in Massachusetts, then it's in Africa.
Yeah.
Because the distance is kind of the illusion,
right. So here's a great UFO story. I was working in Exeter, worked up there for over 10 years. I've been out of there 10 years. So probably 15, 18 years ago, roughly. You could actually find it online if you Google it. There was in every newspaper. There was a UFO sighting. I worked Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Freaking Wednesday, there's a UFO sighting.
Yeah.
So I go to work. It's a convenience store / sub shop, pizza shop. I was running the food for the guy that owned it. Every freaking newspaper had drawings of it, kids, what the kids saw, what people saw. Guy came in who's a regular, who's a retired from the military. I won't even say what branch, just a retired military guy. I said, oh, yeah. He goes, yeah, and about 10 minutes after it was sighted, it was sighted in England.
Wow. 10 minutes.
10 minutes, according, because he went on and looked at other reports that afternoon. And 10 minutes later, it might not have been the same UFO either, but the same shape, the same description of it pretty much was sighted in England. And when you think about it, Exeter, New Hampshire is on the New Hampshire seacoast.
Yeah, that's like Hampton Beach, right?
That's like it's right, just inland from Hampton Beach. So you go over the Great Ocean and you're in England. I mean, and if that thing's traveling at the speed of sound, it'll show up just about anywhere.
Tom, you've done it all.
All right.
You're the busiest man in this business. Appreciate you coming down.
No problem.
I know people can find you in a lot of places.
So the best way to find me right now is Facebook, or you can actually call my cell phone at 978-376-2806. It's out there.
It's out there.
So it's easy to get a hold of.
This is your high season coming up. You get more calls usually around.
No, it's pretty steady throughout. The only thing gets a little more now are the podcasts and the talks at libraries and stuff like that. Because this is the season when even business chambers, the Merrimack Valley Chamber, I said, call me up. They want it's October. When I have fun in October in the business mixer.
It's ghoul season.
It's ghoul season, right.
That's right.
So that's why. So the pickup is mostly the talks.
Right. And even though it's more commercialized than ever, the Halloween culture, it's still a great way for people to learn and actually open their minds.
Well, here's the funny thing about I love Halloween so much. When did the first Halloween stuff start hitting the shelves this year?
End of July.
Less than a week after the 4th of July, places were already putting stuff out.
It's crazy.
Now Halloween party stores are popping up. It's their season. But Halloween's my favorite.
Yeah? Do you ever dress up or no?
I've dressed up, usually as cowboy. I've done the Burt Reynolds look-alike a couple times.
Cowboy. Yeah. Midnight Cowboy, right? Was that Burt Reynolds? Or was that John Voight?
That was John Voight. No, I do the Smokey and the Bandit look.
Oh, okay. All right, Tom. Well, thanks for coming down.
No problem. Thank you.
Hotel D'Amico on Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Thank you.